Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.
Welcome back to Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. I'm here with Assistant Sheriff Rick Marshall, running for Sheriff for Nye County. Sorry to cut you off there. We had to go to a quick commercial break, but you were explaining the difference between the auxiliary police and a reserve officer.
Right. The auxiliary are basically citizens on patrol. They perform a great function for us. They do everything that a citizen can do, including issuing citations, but they're not sworn peace officers. One of the analogies that I was giving during the break was if you're a real estate agent in California and you're certified, you can come to Nevada and take the Nevada test. On the other hand, if you were just a uncertified real estate agent there, you couldn't come here and take the test.
Right.
And that's the same thing with peace officers. We'll have, like China Lake, for example, China Lake Security in California, we'll get inquiries from some of their officers saying, I'm a federal officer, or I was certified under this act or certified under that act, but they never went through a recognized law enforcement academy. So you might be certified under some federal act to perform law enforcement duties while you're on site where you're at, but that's not transferable to a law enforcement agency. So we have to be very careful when someone says, well, I was a security police officer or I was a federal officer, when in fact that's misleading because they didn't go through a law enforcement academy that's recognized by a local, state, or federal agency. And the easiest way is to find out what academy they went through or what training they went through, and then see if they have reciprocity with either a federal, state, or local agency. During the break, I was telling you we have a gentleman who works for the U.S. Park Police. He's a reserve officer with them, and he's moving to Nevada, and he contacted us and asked if we had a reserve program, which we do. Well, one of the things we need to find out from him is his training certified by the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, known as FLETC, or is it certified through the Virginia Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission, both of which we have reciprocity with. Some of the FLETC training is not recognized by Nevada, but the majority of it is. So we would have to look at what the training is to make a determination if he could come out here and get certified without having to go through a whole lot of training.
So your reserve officers that they're not coming from somewhere else, they're just coming off the street, they have to actually go through the academy then to be a reserve. That's great. I didn't know that.
And this goes back to, like I said, 1982. Nevada started really, matter of fact, it was May 7th of 1982. Nevada started cracking down on reserves as more and more lawsuits came from it. The old days of here's a badge, here's a gun, go out and enforce the law without any training just doesn't work. It would be like taking an attorney or taking somebody who wanted to be an attorney and saying, you know, go in and defend this person, and they don't know anything about the law, so they go in and the guy gets convicted and goes, hey, I thought you were an attorney or that you could help me.
Right.
So Nevada started addressing those concerns in the early 80s, requiring basic course of training, completion by attendance of reserve officers. Nye County Sheriff's Office developed our first academy in the early 90s when Wade Liskey was elected sheriff. We were notified by the Nevada Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission that half of our department was out of certification. So rather than send them away to be certified, we decided to develop our own academy. The first academy was conducted in 1993, and it was in Beatty. The second one was in 1994, and it was down here in Pahrump. That was the largest academy we've run. I think we had 16 people in it at that time. But a lot of our reserves were mandated to go through that academy, and we lost a lot of reserves because there's physical fitness requirements, and some of the people at the time said, I'm not going to do it. You know, I've been a reserve for 20 years, and I shouldn't have to go through this certification. Well, it's the law. It's under the Nevada Administrative Code that says attendance by a reserve officer, basic course of training, you must complete it. So we lost a lot of reserves during that time, but we had some that stayed on. And again, most of the reserves put in 24 hours a month. We're very lucky to have this reserve that retired from Metro and came out here and puts in about 32 hours a week.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's
for a reserve.
phenomenal. You bet it is. So we look at those things and then we say, okay, we have to meet certain Nevada standards. We just cannot put somebody in an academy and say, okay, here, you're certified. We run 2 different academies here in Nye County. One is in the jail. It's a standalone academy that we can individually put somebody in, and that's a 10-week program. You have to go through the same hiring as full-time officers, and then you go through the same training, but you're able to spread it out over a year because you're not working full-time. But it does give you a leg up on getting hired full-time. The other academy that we run is our patrol academy. That's about a 6-month academy. And we generally lose about 50% of the people that attend the academy. We have to have 5 to make it cost-worthy to us. If we get below 5, depending on where we're at in the academy, if it's a 26-week academy and we're in week 14, we're not going to shut it down with 12 weeks to go. However, if we're in week 2, then we're going to shut it down, do some more hiring, and restart the academy. And since we run a modified stress academy, if you're in the academy, it's like boot camp. You don't want it shut down and start all over
Absolutely
again.
not.
So we're pretty lucky there that we've got some really good dedicated people.
Yeah, I always talk about the story. A little background. My plan was to go to the academy back in 2003, 2004. That was my full intent. And so I made sure I could run the 1.5 miles in 17 minutes, whatever it is, and did the push-ups, did the whole thing. And about a week before I applied, I ended up having an unnecessary appendix removed. And during my downtime, I got into real estate, and that's where we're at now. But I know that training is tough because I made sure I could do it.
Yep.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back with our last segment here with Rick Marshall.
Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.